Hey everybody, welcome to another Halloween how-to. Today I'm going to be showing you how I like to make my bleeding candles out of PVC. Now I know this is a project that's not going to surprise anyone. It's pretty ubiquitous. You probably made them yourself and this is nothing new, but anyway, I'm going to show you how I do it. Hopefully if there's somebody out there who's never done one of these before, you're going to see how simple and easy and relatively cheap it is to do this. And it makes such a fantastic Halloween project. It's the basis for a lot of the projects that I do. For instance, these Halloween candlesticks that I also built out of PVC, which is what I'm going to show you next. I thought it would be helpful to just show you quickly how I do my PVC candles so that when I do projects like my candlestick and even more impressive candelabra that I'm saving for later, you'll know how to do the candles to go along with them. So what you're going to need to do or what you're going to need to do the project is some PVC. Now I use the 2-inch PVC, and that is important because you have to have the round hole that's the right size for your LED candles that you're going to use to light your PVC candle. So this actually comes in 10-foot lengths. I got these from Home Depot. I got the 2-foot length PVC. They sell them either in the 10-foot lengths or pre-cut 2 feet. And I was just happened to be in my car, so I didn't have room for a 10-foot piece of pipe. So I got the 2-foot one, and you're going to pay a little bit more if you go the 2-foot route. The 10-foot one was, I think, between $9 and $10. And honestly, I can't remember how much I paid for this 2-foot length. I want to say it was like $4 or something. It was kind of crazy. So just remember, you're going to get, I bought 2 of these. So for 2 of these was the same price for a 10-foot length, and you get half the length when you put 2 of these together. Anyway, that's enough math for today's lesson. So once you have your PVC, you're going to need to cut it in 2 sizes. Now, what size you want your candles is up to you. I'm going to make 2 of them today because the next project I want to show you are these candlesticks, how to make them. So we're going to make some candles to go on them. So I'll probably make some slightly shorter than what we've got here. I just pulled those out of my random bloody candle bag that I keep. So we'll cut 2 of those, and then I'll actually cut several so I can end up making some more candles at a later time. But anyway, we'll get to that in a moment. What else you will need for the project is paint. Now, I've used a couple of different colors. Whatever color you think works closest to an actual candle is fine. I have used antique white in the past. This is an ivory color, and it's a satin. So this just happened to be what I had in the garage, so we are going to use that now. That's what these are. They're a little bit dull. I'm not sure how I feel about them. I kind of think ivory, or the antique white might have looked a little bit nicer, but I used that when I was just making PVC candles that weren't bleeding. So I think, no matter what people are really going to see when they look at the candles is the blood coming off of them, so it doesn't really matter. To make that blood, you're going to need a couple of red candles. Now I got 2 of these at the dollar store. Well, it's 1 packet of 2. So that was $1. We're going to need a lighter to light it. We're going to need a red pen just to give it a little bit of a head start, and I'll show you that in a minute. You're obviously going to need the 2 LED candles that I just mentioned. Now, I don't like these candles. These are just regular LEDs. You can get them at the dollar store, but you're going to pay, I think they're like 2 for $1. And you can get a much better deal on Amazon. And also, I recommend buying the ones with the timers that'll turn on at the same time every night for like 5 or 6 hours. So if you have an effect that you want to be lit, over several days, you don't have to do anything. It'll just come on automatically at the same time. And then in order to get that candle to sit at the right length or the right height, I usually stuff it with a little bit of this pipe foam, insulation foam that you can also get at Home Depot. It's real cheap, just like a couple bucks for so much of this. And it is a 1/4-inch pipe. Oh, I'm sorry, it's a 1/2-inch wall by 3 feet length pipe insulation. Quick tip, if you think, gosh, that's a lot to use just for these little candles, you can actually slice these up and make them into a chain. Anyway, project for another day. But if you need a cheap chain, that's a good way to do it. So that's what you're going to need. You're also going to need some sort of way to cut the pipe. Now I have a electric miter saw that I'm going to use. You can use a hacksaw, but if you don't have one or the other, or some sort of saw, this might not be the project for you unless you plan on having a 2-foot candle. So you can cut it, again, at any length you want. I like to have a variety because, candles don't burn at the same rates. And also sometimes I will cut them at an angle so that, again, when you're burning a candle, it will naturally kind of let one side melt a little bit faster than the other, and you get little inconsistencies and odds and ends. So if you want a little bit more realism, you can do that. If you just want to keep it simple, like I'm going to do today, just cut it straight, cut several of them, and then get to painting. So let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, I have our PVC prepped. I cut the 2-foot length of pipe into 6 varying sizes. I kept the groups into two, I kept them in groups of 2 so that, if we were to have a pair of candlesticks, the candles will be roughly the same size. Or, if we're going to group them in a grouping of 3, usually I'll put, group of varying sizes there so that it gives it a little bit of visual interest. But for our purposes today, I'm just going to demonstrate one of these medium size pieces of PVC. It looks like it's, I don't know what, maybe 4 inches or so. Now I did spray paint this with 4 coats of the paint. It seems to have done a good job getting most of that bleed through off. You can still see it in some of these, but I'm not going to worry about that too much because the red wax that we're going to drip down, you can just sort of concentrate it in any areas where there are imperfections, and that's going to help hide it. So what I like to do to start off the process of this is take my red Sharpie marker, and I will just color in the very top and the inside of the PVC, because you want to drip the wax down the sides and on the very top, but you really don't want to drip it out on the insides too, because it's going to coat and build up, and it's not going to leave you much wiggle room to put your candle in there. So I'm just going to give it a good coat. You probably want to use, I've been using this marker for years, so it is a little, it's starting to dry out a little bit, so it's kind of looking a little pinkish. It's not quite giving the coverage that I want anymore, but maybe, I'll give it another coat or so. But you can see when we put the candle in there, if the candle's not level, which it's often not, you're going to see the red. You're not going to see the white inside of the piece of PVC. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with my LED candle itself. So we're just going to color it red. I'll color the top red too. Now, just to save some time, I do have some that are already done, so I'm just going to put these aside for now. Now, I also will take the wax and just drip it on the top of the candle too, just give it a little bit more realism so that it's not looking just like a red colored LED candle. So I think we're ready to start. What you're going to want to do is take your taper candle. I already have one because I've made so many of these. I mean, I'm talking dozens and dozens of them that I just sort of have these constantly rotating. And when you use a fresh candle, it helps to burn it down a little bit because it will naturally start to form a little lip on the candle that's really going to help you be more accurate as you are dripping it around the sides of your candle. So let's go ahead and light this. There we go. You're going to want to, I'm just going to let this sort of heat up the wax for a moment. You're going to want to definitely do this over a piece of paper or something, because as you may have noticed in some of my videos, I have some red spotting on my work table here, and that's from doing these candles in the past. If you get the wax on your furniture and you don't clean it off right away, as I'm loath to do because I'm very lazy, you can see it's already starting here, it will stain. So just be careful of that. Now what I usually do, once that flame starts getting a good drip going, it'll start to drip much faster here. I just go around the lip one time first. You probably can't see it very well from the back, but the drips are starting to really form. Of course, normally I would be angling this so I can view it, but hopefully you can see something on that side. Let's just take a look. So usually I will let it drip in one spot for several seconds to get those big long drips, or sometimes just make it very wide by dripping in the same general area for a few times. But what's going to happen is if you just let it drip like once here and there, you're going to get a line of these little drips that looks really kind of weird. So, I will definitely go over one area a few times, or let it drip a few times in one area, move an inch or so over, do it a little bit more. So we'll do it right here and see what happens. You kind of twist the candle as you go to melt the wax around it. Again, I can't really see what's happening there. That one went all the way down, so I don't like it to go all the way down too much. I like it to go a lot of the way down. It just gives it more interest. And you can kind of see, well, I don't know if you can see it or not, but what's happening is it's at the end of the drip, it leaves kind of a bulbous shape, which kind of makes it look more realistic, I think, that it's bleeding, and it's an active bleed and not just something drawn on. Anyway, I think I've done a good job on this side. I probably should have been a little more careful on the other side because I've got some red smearing going on. I think I must have touched it, and I kind of think that maybe these candles are not quite as dry as they should have been. I did all 4 coats just today, so I could have definitely let them dry overnight, but I wanted to get this going. So let's just add a little bit more right here. Again, you want to keep that wax as much to the outside as possible, because if you get it on the inside again, it's going to build up. Now, you got to be careful, because sometimes it's going to split like that, where it will drip off another drip, and then you're going to have a gap. So if that happens, you can always just try and fix it by dripping a whole lot more right there. And let's just see what happens when I do that. Kind of getting it there. It's a little hard to focus on the opposite side. Like I said, normally I'll be facing it as I'm doing this, but I think we're getting a little better there. All right. Come on. So anyway, that's the gist of it. You want to also make sure you're doing it on a very flat surface, because if you don't, you're going to get kind of a crooked run. So you don't want to really hold it while you're doing the bleeding effect, because you don't want it to look like that. It just ruins the illusion completely, I should say. So just blow that out for now. Make sure it's, probably shouldn't put that on a piece of paper like I'm doing. Be safe, safety first. But I want to just show you the rest of this real quick. So I have my bloody candle. Hopefully yours will look a little bit better than this one. But again, we've got our LED light ready to go in. You can just, if you drip the wax on the top of the LED, it's not going to bother it. So you don't have to worry about it going inside. Anyway, we want to make sure that this is at the top level of that. So we are taking our foam pipe insulation. We are just going to, I'm trying not to touch it too much. One thing I also want to point out is that, you know, I usually take these and just throw them in a box at the end because I'm lazy. Don't be lazy like me, because when you do that, the wax will actually break off if you're not careful with them. And then you're going to have, as you can kind of see, let me turn this around just a little bit. So the wax will break off and you'll have little strands that are partially filled in, partially not. And then where it has broken off, you see you get a little bit of that ghosting effect with the red. However, now that I'm thinking about it, you could probably also then take a fine tip Sharpie marker that's at red and just sort of fill in any of that missing gap. Oh, that piece of wax there is about ready to fall off too. If you saw that, I could just move it with my finger. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and stick this piece of foam inside. Don't push it down too far like I just did. If you do, with the short ones, you can just push it right back up from the bottom. But it's easier if you just push it in past the lip and then let the candle do the rest. So I just put the candle in, press it down till it's right at the level of the top. And there we go. It does leave a little bit of a gap still. It doesn't bother me too much, especially since we, you know, colored the inside of the candle so that it helps mask that. And, you know, to the casual observer, nobody's going to notice. To me, it bothers me a little bit, but, you know, what are you going to do? So there we go. That's how I make my bleeding candle. Looks like I've got some work ahead of me to finish the rest of these up. But thanks for watching. I hope you have learned something. If you have some tips or tricks or techniques that you like to do, let me know. Oh, one other thing I forgot to point out. If you didn't want to make them bloody, you could just take your hot glue. I'm sure have seen those videos. You just run the hot glue beads along the top and let them drip down, and it looks like wax is dripping down off the candle. I've done a lot of those. I should have pulled out an example. Sorry I didn't. But if you do go that route, you know, you obviously want to do your hot glue first and then give it a coat of the spray paint so that it, you know, looks like the actual wax that has dripped down. Anyway, just another tip. Let me know your tips. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. Keep watching because I'm going to be doing the candlesticks coming up here in another video, then my candelabra that I use for my dining room. I'm excited to show you that. And then we'll move on to some other exciting projects. So I'll see you then. Take care, everyone. Happy haunting.